Hi everybody, and thank you again for connecting, and sorry for the little delay this morning. The plan was to have the class at 11 o'clock as normal, but then I changed the schedule at the last moment. So I hope that did not inconvenience you much, and thank you for hopefully connecting and watching now again. So we will continue with the structure as before. Today the story is similar to the story from yesterday with a little moral at the end of the story, so it's something different, and different to news, different to business, so it's something a little bit different, and I think it's better, but it's very clear, not too difficult, not too complicated, and hopefully you can enjoy the vocabulary and the tips and advice and the other contexts with the language. That's the intention, to show all the different contexts and expressions and vocabulary. So hopefully you will enjoy the story, hopefully you will enjoy the vocabulary, and hopefully you will learn a little as well. So thank you for connecting again, and it's just a good opportunity to teach online with all the technology. It's great, and hopefully in your job you can do something similar and try to help and try to offer a few things for free as well. I think it's good. So we will begin here with the story, A Wise Man's Joke. So of course, wise is very, very important. It's the adjective. So the person can be very, very wise. The other context, I suppose, is in relation to the teeth. So the adjective is wise, and we say the wisdom is the noun, and we can say a wisdom tooth. Okay, so a wisdom tooth, remember, singular is one tooth and plural is teeth. Okay, so we have the wisdom tooth, which is one of your teeth that you normally have at the back when you're maybe 18, 19. You have the wisdom tooth, singular, and wisdom teeth, plural. So it is important, and as we said, the typical adjective is a wise man, a wise woman, a wise person. Another expression is maybe you are wise beyond your years, and this means that you are maybe more mature, you are more intelligent than your actual or your real age. So if you are wise beyond your years, the significance means you are maybe more mature than your actual age. That's another expression as well. And I think they're the most typical, most obvious expressions I can think about at the moment. So obviously a joke is una broma. So if you have a joke, you can also say to pull someone's leg, which means to joke with somebody. You can say to yank their chain. That's another possibility as well, because the verb to yank is like to pull. Okay, or maybe another possibility is to tug. So these are very, very typical synonyms. And for tug is the same as pull, but we say a tug boat, which is the boat that helps the other boat when it has a problem to pull the boat. And we can also say the verb to tow, which is typical, same situation, typical with a car. If the car is broke down, you need another car to move this car, and that's a tow truck or a tow in the action as well. Okay, different from a toe, which is part of the foot. Es una pied del un dedo del pied is a toe. Okay, but the pronunciation is the same. To tow is to move another car, and to tug is almost the same, and as pull, and again to yank is another possibility, to pull. So we have a lot of possibilities for the verb to pull, but also a yank is maybe, well, it's not informal, it is from the United States, because the Yankees are the people from New York. Okay, so if you're a Yankee, you're from New York. For example, the baseball team are the New York Yankees, but I think it's old, related to the Civil War time. I think you had a group which were called the Yankees. So in Ireland, we say a Yank is a short word for an American person. A person from the United States is a Yank. Okay, and we have another possibility as well, a person from USA. In English, very, very informal, we say a wooden, excuse me, but we say a wooden plank, and that's Cockney rhyming. That's an area. Cockney rhyming is an area of vocabulary that rhymes with the real word, and this is a perfect example of Cockney rhyming. So a wooden plank is another way to say a yank, and that's maybe informal. But this area, Cockney rhyming, is very, very important. We say maybe the dog and bone, and the significance is the phone. So for example, where is my dog and bone? The significance is where is my phone? You can say to go up the apple and pears, and that means to go up the stairs. Okay, and Cockney is the name for a person from London. So if you are from London, you are maybe a Cockney, and rhyming is the vocabulary specific in London, and there is a lot of expressions that we have for this. So as I said, the apple and pears are the stairs. You can say my skin and blister. Blister is very interesting, but the significance is my sister. So a blister in Espanol, aquí es como olvido ampollo. Okay, es verdad, ampollo. Okay, so a blister is an ampollo, and in English, if you say my skin, como piel, my skin and blister, the significance is my sister, and the majority of people understand this vocabulary. The majority of native speakers definitely, but obviously people with good levels of English as well, C1, C2, probably might understand this as well. So we have a lot of possibilities, and that's called Cockney rhyming, and that all began with the word wise. So we continue. A wise man, also, sorry, that was a joke. So we say a joke, we say to pull someone's leg, you say to yank someone's chain, which is cadena, and that means to joke with somebody. Or you can, excuse me, or you can also say to wind someone up, and that's the verb to wind. Like for your watch, you wind your watch, and if you wind a person up, you make them very animated, you joke with them a lot, and you make them very angry maybe with your joke. So you're winding someone up is all very similar vocabulary. Okay, so the text here is a little bit small. I'll try to make it a bit bigger. Okay, so the story, and remember the difference in English, there is a big difference between the story and the history. So in school, asignatura, the subject in school you study is history, but the story is maybe more from your weekend, the party. You have a very interesting story to tell everybody. Es una cuenta, okay, a story. And history is more in school, the history of Ireland, the history of United States, the history of Spain. It's como historia, como asignatura, okay. So a wise man, here again we have the article, indefinite article. Remember in English we have a, the, an. They're the most typical articles. This is indefinite, this is indefinite, and this is definite. We need the N when you have the word beginning with a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, an apple, an orange. So here we have the substantivo, a noun, the adjective wise. Once is maybe the adverb related to the time, una vez. The verb is to face. So when you face a problem, you face a person, you face a situation, and maybe it's maybe to face your fears. So it's a very important word, to face a person, to face a problem. Okay, encarar, I think in Espanol. In this situation, face the group of people. Remember, one person, two people, one person, three people, one person, four people. Persons is not so typical, only in maybe legal and very, very formal situations. You can say two persons, three persons, but the most of the times, the majority of the times, we say four people, five people, six people, etc. Here again, we have the relative pronoun. So this is the substitution for the subject, and the subject is a group of people who, because we start a new clause, a new sentence, you need a relative pronoun, and that's the reason. Then we have a verb to be plus the verb to complain. So this is the past continuous. I am complaining, I will be complaining, I was complaining. So that's the present continuous, future continuous, past continuous. And the verb to complain is when you are not happy. Typical in the restaurant, if you are not happy with the service, you are not happy with the quality of the food, you want to complain. Quedarse is un poquito como quedarse, I think. So just to double check here, complain in English and Spanish is quejarse, because quedarse is to stay, but quejarse is to complain. So there is obviously a difference in Spanish. But in English, you need to be careful because the verb is to complain, but the substantivo is a complaint with the noun. Okay, so we normally say to make a complaint, but also to complain. So that's very, very important structures for sure. And here it's the past continuous. The people were complaining continuously in the past about, sobre, in relation to, about the same issues. So again, article, definite article. When you have the article, you need the substantivo. Here we have the substantivo, and the significance of an issue is a problem. Okay, so if you have an issue, you have a problem. And we need an because the word begins with a vowel. Vocales in Spanish is the list of vocales in Espanol, vowels in English, and the pronunciation is very, very important. Okay, so they are the vocales in Spain, A, E, I, O, U. Okay, and that's the reason we need the N here for an issue. Also, it is a verb as well, to issue, which means maybe to distribute. So if you issue an invitation to a person for a party, you send the invitation to a friend. Okay, so to issue an invitation. And we also see this in a magazine. When you produce a magazine, this is the first issue, second issue, third issue, fourth issue. Okay, and the pronunciation is like issue, and you can say a tissue. Issue, tissue, it's flexible. Some people say issue, some people say issue, some people say tissue, some people say tissue. So just be aware of that as well. And the tissue is like a panuelo. So here I have my tissue in my hand. I'm not going to show you because that would be disgusting, I think. So here we have issues, which is like problems. Over and over again is a very good structure, and it means de nuevo, de nuevo, de nuevo, de nuevo. So it's very flexible. I watched the movie over and over and over and over again. Very good, well, very possible, very common, and it's frequent, and it means people use it all the time, and it means repetitively to do something again and again and again and again, over and over. Very, very important. One day, instead of, this is interesting because instead of in Espanol is como en lugar de, and every class I think I explained this, because it is possible to go to the party in your stead, and that means maybe in your place, in your position, like substitution. So if I go to the party in your stead, the significance is place or position, like substitution, and it's an old English word. It's not so common in English today, but this is the reason we say instead of, or just instead, which is possible as well. Okay, and here normally after instead of, it's the gerundio. Instead of going, instead of eating, instead of drinking, instead of having, instead of watching. And for this reason, we need the gerundio, the ing, instead of listening. Also, with listen, it's necessary to. Majority of the times, almost always, you need listen to the radio, listen to your friend, listen to the birds. So listen to, listen to, listen to. That's common error, and it's very important to remember to use the preposition to. The complaint, so here's a very good example. Again, the verb is to complain with no T, but the substantivo, you have the T, and it's the plural. Good. So that's very, very good lessons in one or two sentences. He, subject, the verb to tell, which is irregular, so tell in the present and told in the past. Okay, so the verb to tell and the past is told. He told them, that's the object. So the subject is he. Remember, I, you, he, she. The verb is to tell, and the object is them. Object pronoun, I tell you, I tell him, I tell her, I tell you, plural. I tell us, but then them. Okay, a joke. And everyone, everybody, no difference really. You can say everyone and everybody, no real difference. Okay, because one is just a number and body is like the cuerpo. Cracked up laughing. This is very, very interesting and very fluent and very typical. The phrasal verb to crack up is when you are laughing a lot. Okay, so of course the verb to crack is related to the telephone, or they're related to break. So when you crack your screen, como plantilla, it's not exactly break, it's just before it breaks, you crack. Okay, you can have a crack in the wall. Okay, it's like a little fissure. I think we say in English a fissure, and maybe in Spanish it's the same. So the verb to crack is also possible. To crack an egg, so it's break, but it's before its separation, it's a crack. Okay, you can have a crack in a relationship, which is like a little problem before the separation, a crack in a relationship. And to crack up is more emphasis for the movement, the preposition, and we use this when you are laughing a lot. Okay, so the verb is to laugh, and when you're really laughing a lot, you are cracking up because your stomach or your body is changing position because you are laughing a lot. Okay, we can say in fits of laughter, you can say my side is splitting. Okay, and the verb to split is like to separate. So if your sides are splitting, the significance is something is so funny that you are really, really in pain because it is so funny. So your sides are splitting because it's very, very funny. So we have lots of possibilities. And a fit is similar to a moment when you're not happy, a period of time when you are not happy. It's obviously very, very bad. You can have an epileptic fit, which is a very intense medical situation, and in this situation fits of laughter is like an intense moment of humor and funny situations. Okay, so fits of laughter is important. And again, it's necessary the gerundio after, I think, the preposition, so crack up laughing. Then entonces, subject is the man, the verb is to repeat, but remember in the past, to create the past simple, we just add ed, and that's the regular creation of the past simple in English with the verb and then the object. So the man repeated the joke is a typical active. To create the passivo of this sentence, we change the position. We say the joke was repeated by the man. So just remember always in your mind the possibility of the active and the passive. A few people is the subject, and the verb is to smile in the past, smiled. But this is very interesting because in English we have a difference between few and a few. And just in the class today we had the same example. So I'm going to give you two sentences, and I want you to think of the possible differences between the two sentences. So for example, I have a few books, or I have few books. What do you think is the difference? Because in English, yes, there is a very important difference between the two. Okay, so for example, a few is a small quantity. Also, few is a small quantity, but the difference is you are content. So if you have a few books, yes, it's a small quantity, but you are content, you are happy, you are satisfied. But if you have few books, yes, you have a small quantity, but you are not content, you are not satisfied, you are not happy. Very, very important. So here, a few people is just a small quantity, but if you say few people, that means insufficient quantity. So it's very, very important, okay? And smile is no problem. When you're very happy, you smile with your mouth, and hopefully it's intentional and natural, not like my smile when you're smiling. So to smile is obviously important vocabulary, and in Spanish, the significance of smile, you will see here sonreír, I think in Espanol, and you can see here, just to be double, yeah, sonreír, okay? Finally, the man repeated the joke. Again, the subject is the man, the verb is to repeat, and it's the regular ed. The object is the joke a third time. But no one, so that's the linker, no one, nobody, and you need to be very, very clear always the difference between anyone and anybody, because sometimes people might put here anyone reacted. No, because it's Nadia, we need to say no one or nobody. So there's a huge difference between no one nobody, and also anyone and anybody. So there is a massive difference, and you need to be very, very clear and very accurate and very precise when you use this. So in this situation, nobody, Nadia, no one reacted. Okay, and the verb is to react, and again, it's regular in the ed in the past. The man smiled, so the subject, the verb to smile in the past, ed, and said, remember the verb is to say, and it's irregular in the past. I think most people know this because it is very regular and very frequent verb. So the verb is to say, and the past is said. So the man smiled and said, quotation, you will not. So when we say the future will not, it is possible to say won't. Okay, so you will not go, you will not have. The significance is you won't laugh at the same joke. So there is a big difference in English to laugh at you or to laugh with you. Okay, so there is a massive difference, and this is a typical joke and a typical comment. So if somebody is laughing at you, the significance is they are maybe very you are the reason, you are the motive for the joke, so they are laughing at you. It's obviously bad and not good, but if they're laughing with you, you are enjoying the joke with them. Okay, and it is possible to say a laugh a minute. So this person is a laugh a minute, and that means you are always laughing with this person in your company. So everything is a laugh a minute. Okay, so that is important, more than once. So what are you getting? What are you obtaining from continuing to complain? So what exactly are you getting? What are you obtaining? And remember, get has a lot of significances. It could be to obtain. Okay, to get means to obtain, to reach, to arrive, to achieve, and also to become. They're the most typical expressions and synonyms with to get. And in this situation, it's obtaining. What are you obtaining from continuing to complain about the same problem? So just to read the story again so we understand, a wise man once faced a group of people who were complaining about the same issues over and over again. One day, instead of listening to the complaints, he told them a joke, and everybody cracked up laughing. Everybody started laughing. Then the man repeated the joke, and a few people smiled. Finally, the man repeated the joke a third time, but nobody reacted. So there was no reaction the third time. The man smiled and said, you won't laugh at the same joke more than once. So what are you getting from complaining about the same problem? So they are saying, or they are suggesting, that it's not necessary to complain more than once. Okay, maybe once, one time it is maybe necessary to complain. I think that's the message, but it's not necessary to complain, and over complain. I think that is the moral of the story, I imagine. So let's see. The moral of the story is you're not going to get anywhere. Here it means maybe arrive or to reach with your distance. You're not going to arrive or to reach with a distance anywhere, any place. If conditional, you keep complaining, continue to complain, keep going, keep watching, keep eating about the same problem, but do nothing. And remember the difference between nothing and anything. So you do nothing, or do you want to do something or anything? So you just need to be careful with the negative, and here it's definitely the negative. To fix is como arreglar, and it is the object. So it's necessary to include the object because always you fix something. Fix the computer, fix the television, fix your watch. So fix the problem, arreglar, to fix it. And again, yesterday we had the same example. To get or obtain your fix of Netflix, which means your portion that makes you happy. Okay, so that's your fix of chocolate, your fix of coffee, your fix of the series. It's your portion that makes you better, that arreglar, that fixes you, and now you're perfect, now you're happy. Okay, so don't waste your time complaining, don't waste your energy, don't lose your time or waste your time complaining, expecting other people. Remember the difference between other and another. Another is for singular, another person, and other is for people. And again, we say the other when you have an option and a choice of two things. Do you want this coffee or do you want the other coffee? And then finally, you can say the others, and that's specifically a group of people. So do you want to travel to the party with us or do you want to travel to the party with the others? So again, here it's plural people, and for this reason we need to say other. Also, expect is very, very important because in English we have 2 or 3 different verbs: to expect, to hope, and to wait. Very, very different. So expect is when you are very, very sure and you anticipate with confidence something to happen. For example, the rain. I expect it to rain tomorrow because I have the information and the computer tells me we are expecting rain. But I hope it does not rain. So that's more wish. I hope it does not rain. But yes, I expect it to rain because the statistics are there. But my heart and my wish and my desire, I hope it does not rain. And then the verb to wait is completely different. It's typical with the preposition to wait for. So you wait for your friend, you wait for the news, you wait for the football match. In Spanish, this is the problem because in Spanish you have one word to represent these 3 words. In Spanish, you say esperar, and esperar in Espanol and in English is to expect, to hope, and to wait for. That's the problem, and that's the importance of that explanation. Okay? To continue, I think continue, it's possible infinitivo, and it's possible gerundio. So you can say continue to react or continue reacting. The preposition with react is react to. That is very important. So to react to a person, to react to a situation, to react to the news. Very, very typical preposition, react to. And prepositions are so important in English. It's necessary to remember always the possible combinations with prepositions. And here is a perfect example, react to. Your, this is the possessive adjective. My complaint, remember it's a substantivo with a T, and with the S it's plural. My complaints, your complaints, his complaints, her complaints, possessive adjective. Instead, here's a perfect example. It's not necessary instead of, because maybe instead of, you need a gerundio or the substantivo. Instead of the chocolate, instead of going, instead of the phone, instead of eating. So again, you need instead of plus the gerundio or the substantivo, but it's possible instead alone as a linker at the start of the sentence or the middle of the sentence or the end of the sentence. Take action, no problem. Tomar acción, take a decision, take action to make a change. Typical combinations: make a change, do a change, probably not, because remember the difference in English between do and make is very important, and in general make is a creation. So if it's a physical creation, it's generally make. Make a castle, make a table, physical creation. But do is more activity. Do your work, do your homework, do the painting, do the shopping. It's a physical activity, and make is more the physical creation. That's the basic difference, but sometimes it's irregular and sometimes you have to be a little bit careful with the difference between to make and to do. So just to read the moral again, the moral: you're not going to get anywhere, you're not going to advance, you're not going to progress if you continue complaining about the same problem but do nothing to fix it. Okay, so I suppose the moral is you have to try to do something to fix your situation, to fix your problem. Of course, sometimes it's not easy. And again, these morals are maybe easier said than done, but maybe not. But that's the advice. So it's no good, no advantage to continue complaining. Yes, there's a difference about talking and looking for a solution or complaining. So there's no benefit to complain continuously about the same problem if you do nothing about it. So don't waste your time complaining, expecting other people to continue to react or listen to your complaint in the same manner. Instead, take action to make a change. Very, very good. Very good theory, but again, sometimes it's more difficult. And of course, there's lots of difficult, complicated situations. So that's the first story, and obviously it's the fourth story of the page, but the first story today. Just to show you, I think we did the previous stories before. Number 3 was the elephant and the rope. So the baby elephant had the rope as a baby, and this controls the baby. But as he grows older, he expects the rope to continue to control him, so he does not try to escape because he is conditioned to stay by the rope. And that was that story. The second story was, I think, the pebbles, the stones, and the jar. So, and the sand. So your life is your jar, and the rocks are the most important things. The pebbles are the extra things. The sand are maybe even extra things that you maybe don't need. And the point was that the rocks are the most important part of your life, like family, friends, whatever. Okay, so that was the second story. And the first story was 3 feet from gold, if you remember. So the worker, the miner, was working and trying to find the gold, and eventually he gave up, he quit, como rendirse, but he was very close. He did not realize he was very close, and the next worker came and found the gold after 3 feet. Remember, feet is like 3 feet are like 1 meter. So they were the 4 stories from this page. Very, very good. And maybe we have time to continue a little with the 5th story. It might be interesting, and maybe it will improve, it will give you advice for your situation. But just before we continue, I want to make sure on Facebook we are still live and still working. I hope so. Sometimes we have little warnings here, but yeah, I think we're still working. Okay, so the last story was It's Never Too Late, and that is the title of the story. And here is the story. In the 1940s, so that's an important structure when you write English. You can say in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. So that's the typical structure that we use in English. So in the 1940s, there was, it's the past, remember the present, there is, but there was a man. Again, we have the relative pronoun, so it is quite common in English and it is important. Who, so this is the substitution for the man. There was a man who, comma, at the age of 65. So remember, the preposition at is for location, physical location. So you can meet your friend at the cinema, but also for time, we say at the beginning, at the end, at the middle, at 6 o'clock. And in this situation, it's at the age of 65. It's possible to say with the age of 65, but specific location for the time at the age of 65. Was, so that's the verb to be. The man is the subject, was living. So this is the past continuous, and it's a phrasal verb, because in English we say to live off, and that basically means to survive from. So for example, you live off your success, you live off your fame. That means you have maybe a successful moment and you continue to get work, you continue to have attention after this significant moment. So you're living off this situation, okay? But in relation to this sentence, it's to survive. So you're living off of 99 cents or $99 social security checks. So I think a check in English in Ireland, we would write like this. When you go to the bank, you have a check, which is the book that you sign your signature for money, and that is a check. But I think in the United States, it's more written like this. But of course, the verb to check is a bit different, like como probar, investigar. And in this situation, it's a security check, which is money that you receive from the government. In is the preposition for a house. A is the article. Substantivo is the house. Adjective is small. Driving, gerundio, no problem. A is the article, so we need a substantivo, so it's a car. There's no vowel, so we don't need an. Beat up is very difficult. It's a phrasal verb. You can say I feel beat up. You can say I was beat up. And the verb to beat is como batear. Okay, in sport you can say the team beat their opponent. So it's como batear or vencer. Okay, physically it's batear, but also it's venecer in Espanol. And the preposition or the phrasal verb beat up is like very, very tired, exhausted, shattered. They're the most typical situations. Exhausted, really, really tired. And that is the typical vocabulary that we use. Okay, so I feel beat up. We have a famous expression. We say, don't beat yourself up. And that's very, very famous. So the significance is don't be very, very critical of yourself. Don't be too critical of yourself. Remember, too is demasiado in Espanol. So don't beat yourself up. Don't criticize yourself too much. Okay. So the subject, he, the man, decided. Again, the verb is to decide. It's the past regular, so we need ed. He decided. It was, so this is the subject, because always you need the subject in English with the verb. And here's the verb to be in the past. It was time. It was the moment. It was the appropriate time, the appropriate moment to make a change. And remember that significance is typical combination: to make a difference, to make a change. So, entonces, he, subject, thought. This is the verb to think, and the past is thought. You need to be clear with the difference between though, through, true, through, and also you need to be clear with the difference between teach and taught. So this is completely different. The verb to think is pensar. The past is thought. The verb here is to teach, enseñar. And the past of enseñar is taught, which is very, very similar in pronunciation, but I think the TH is more important. Thought, taught. So this one is thought, and this one is taught. This pronunciation is, and significance is different. Though, which is like aunque, although, and through, which is a través. But a través, through, has the same significance, similar pronunciation. True, but the difference is the TH again. Through, true, through. So they're very, very similar and very different, because this one is the verb lanzar, to throw, and the past is irregular, through. Okay? Very interesting and very, very important. About, so pensar in the pasado, sobre, what, como, he had, the verb to have in the past, subject is he, to offer, that, other people, remember other is for plural, other days, other weeks, other years, other people. May is the modal verb. May, could, and might have the same significance, more or less. May, could, and might are modal verbs. We have other modal verbs, but remember, after the modal verbs, the next verb we eliminate to. So may to benefit is the error. It's necessary to eliminate and to remove to. For this reason, we just say may benefit, could benefit, and it's very typical from you benefit from the school, you benefit from your education. So it's typical the preposition to benefit from. Mind is the substantivo, possessive adjective, my mind, your mind, his mind, masculine, her mind, feminine, went. So that's an expression. If your mind goes to, it moves to something. So your mind is traveling. So you stop thinking about one thing and your mind moves to the food. Okay, and again, it's the possessive adjective, his recipe. The pronunciation is very, very important. A recipe is the list for making a dish, the list for making food. It's very different from the pronunciation a receipt, which is the ticket that you receive when you have bought a product. You have a receipt, and a recipe is for the food. So very, very important difference. We have an expression as well. We say a recipe for disaster. So when you predict something is going to happen that is not good, because it's very obvious, you have all the ingredients for the disaster. This situation, we say it's a recipe for disaster. Similarly, we say a recipe for success. So you need these ingredients for something successful to happen. So it's very typical, famous expressions, a recipe for success and a recipe for disaster. Which is the relative pronoun. His, again, is the possession, his friends, and family loved. Fried is the adjective, and it's from the verb to fry. We say to fry an egg, but a bit more informal. You can say my head is fried, and that's the past, and the significance, or the adjective, and the significance is you are very, very tired, you are exhausted, and your head or your brain is burned because you're really, really tired. Okay? He is the subject again. The verb is to leave, como dejar, but it's irregular in the past. So the verb is to leave, and the past is left. Okay, so he left. His, again, is the possessive adjective. Home state in the United States. It's his home state of Kentucky. And travel is the verb. Ed is the past regular. He traveled throughout. Is very, very important. It means during every part of the day, or also across every part of the city. So very, very good vocabulary. Throughout the country means all over the country. The significance is in every part of the country. Very famous, very, very important. Also, you can say throughout the day, and that means during every part of the day, throughout the week, throughout the year, throughout the day. In this significance, throughout the country, it means in every part of the country. Also, we have another word which is very different. We say thorough, okay, and that's different. It's an adjective. We say a thorough examination, a thorough investigation, and the significance is a complete. Okay, so the significance is a complete examination, a full examination, a thorough examination, and it's possible to say I thoroughly enjoyed my holiday, and the significance is I completely, absolutely enjoyed my holiday. Trying, intentando, to sell his recipe, and remember the difference between to sell and to buy, and also we say a sale is como una rebaja, un poquito, and we also say on sale, which is available to buy, and we say for sale, which is typical for property, which is available to buy, and we can also say sold out when there is none left. So the tickets are sold out. So here it's to sell his, it's a possession, recipe, sell to. Okay, so it's very typical, the preposition to sell to, and also we say to buy from. Okay, so just little detail that are very, very important. He is the subject, offer is the verb in the past, ed, even is incluso in Espanol. He even, so it's emphasis included, he even offered the recipe for free. Asking for, typical preposition. Not demanding, not requiring, asking, preguntar. Only a small chunk. So chunk is very, very good vocabulary. And an adjective is related to chunky, and it means very, very big. So for example, if I am chunky, it means I'm very muscly. I have a lot of skin, a lot of body. So you're a chunky person is maybe a little risky to say this. It could be an insult, but we say a chunk of work, which means a big quantity, like this quantity, this amount, a chunk of food. So I took a chunk of the meat, and it's like a quantity which is maybe big. Okay, not all, but a big quantity, a chunk of the meat. And a small chunk of the money is a small quantity of the money that was earned. And here is the passivo, because you have the verb to be, auxiliary plus the participle, so it was earned, but the verb is to earn, which is ganar. Okay, you can earn respect, you can earn reputation, you can earn money, and it's como ganar, very, very important. The difference is to win. You win a competition, you win a prize, so you need to be very clear with the difference. However, sin embargo, that's very important, most of the people, most of the day, or most restaurants. Okay, decline, I think, is rechazar. No, it's not rechazar, lo siento. It's negar, maybe. I think negar, because rechazar is to deny. So decline, oh, lo siento, it is rechazar, decline and invitation. So they're very similar, decline and deny, because in English we have two verbs, to decline and to deny. Okay, and I think rechazar is the significance for both. And here it's the past simple regular. He declined his offer, substantivo, possessive adjective. In fact, de hecho, okay, in fact or actually, which is very, very similar, because remember, currently is completely different. Currently means at the moment. Okay, so the fact, in fact, de hecho, 1,900 restaurants said no. Okay, so 3 more sentences, but pero, even incluso after all of the rejections, después todos the rejections, he persisted. So the verb to persist is to continue, and it's the past. He persisted. Again, the verb to believe, but it's ed, so it's the past. He believed in, very typical, to believe in God, to believe in you, to believe in somebody, believe in himself and his chicken recipe. When he is the subject, visited is the past simple, restaurant number 1010, he obtained a yes. Okay, his name, Colonel Hartland Sanders. So I think that's the story for Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is very interesting because it's a successful company, of course. So here's the lesson. There are a few, remember the difference, few and a few. So there are a few, a small quantity, but it's okay, of lessons that you have the ability, modal, take away, extract from this story, not history, it's story. First, it is never too late in, preposition, in my life, to find success, éxito. Remember, success is éxito, successful is the adjective, and the verb is to succeed in, plus the gerundio. Okay, they're the typical structure. So it's never too late to find success in a society, preposition for society, that often the T is silent. It's typical to eliminate the pronunciation of the T. It often celebrates young, successful people. It is easy to start to think or start thinking. Here you can have the infinitive or the gerundio, no problem. You are never going to, present continuous, to be successful after a certain age. However, colonel, so this is difficult because the pronunciation in English is colonel. Okay, so it's very strange phonetically, but we say Colonel Sanders is an example that proves the argument wrong. That's the typical structure. We say to prove somebody wrong, to prove it wrong. Okay, so this story also as well demonstrates the power of persistence. So here's the substantivo, persistence. The verb is to persist, but the substantivo is persistence, not tense, because sometimes the suffix is normally is ance, for example, importance, but here it's ence. You have to have, it's obligation, you must have confidence in yourself and believe in your work for other, plural, another person, other people to believe in also. Disregard, forget anyone who, relative pronoun, because it's a new subject, a new clause, tells you no, and simply move on, simply continue. Good. Very good. Okay, so there's 2 very, very good stories. So just to repeat the story, the last one, they say, in the 1940s, there was a man who, at the age of 65, was living off, surviving from $99 security checks in a small house, driving a damaged, exhausted, very bad car. He decided it was time to make a change, so he thought about what he had to offer that other people may benefit from. His mind went to his fried chicken recipe, which his friends and family loved. He left his home in his home state of Kentucky and traveled throughout the country trying to sell his recipe to restaurants. He even offered the recipe for free, asking for a small chunk of money that was earned. However, most restaurants declined his offer. In fact, 1,009 restaurants said no. But even after all the rejections, he persisted, he continued, he believed in himself, and he believed in his chicken recipe, and not kitchen, because a lot of people confuse chicken and kitchen. When he visited restaurant number 1010, he obtained a yes. His name, Colonel Hartland Sanders. Okay, so There are a few lessons that you can take away from the story. First, it's never too late in life to find success. In a society that often, frequently celebrates young, successful people, it's easy to start to think you're never going to be successful after a particular certain age. However, Colonel Sanders is an example that proves the argument wrong. This story demonstrates also the power of persistence. You have to have confidence in yourself and believe in your work for other people to believe it also. Disregard anyone who tells you no and simply move on. Very good. So thank you for paying attention, and hopefully you learned some few words. People maybe are watching live and some people can watch recorded, and it just continues with the possibility to give the classes for free every day, and today is the same. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. Also today at 3:15 Irish time, that's 3, so the th, I'm just laughing because the pronunciation of the th, we say 3 and tree. There's a big difference, but it's famous in Ireland to say tree, which is obviously not the phonetically correct way in the book, so you'd say 3. We have the business English webinar, and it's possible I return on Facebook Live today at 3:15 to do some work for business English maybe, or maybe some exercises as well, just to practice like yesterday. I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope you learned some vocabulary. Everything is free. Again, if you want to make a small donation or a small tip, I'm going to give you the information here, and you are welcome to leave a little donation or a small tip if you want. It's only optional, but again, it would be a good support or a good help for me. Also, I have classes every morning. We have a B1 and a B2 class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 o'clock. We also have an beginners class in English. So for people who are absolutely beginners, we have another possibility of a class. And also we have a C1 advanced proficiency class in the mornings on Tuesday and Thursday, plus the webinars every day at 3:15 at 3:15. So there's €6 to attend the webinars and only €4 to attend the classes in the morning. But if you want to make a small tip or a small donation, you are very welcome. And here are the possibilities: by Bizum, Revolut, or directly by bank transfer. Here you can see all the details, and thank you so much. If you want to support me, that's great. That's all the information. And hopefully the Facebook was working good, and hopefully we are continuing to connect very well. Thank you so much. Have a great day and happy Friday, and have a good weekend. And again, hopefully you can take advantage of the pandemic and maybe try in your work or with your skill to maybe offer some people things for free, or to try and give some classes or try to help for free, because that's a good thing to do. And hopefully you might have that possibility to do it and try to help others who might need your support. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and hopefully talk to you soon in a couple of hours. Bye bye.